There are some points that I forget where Tom Cruise is a Scientologist. So whenever he does a stunt or anything big for these Mission Impossible movies, does he pray to God or does he pray to Xenu? I don't really know how that works yet. But either way, I finally watched Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I haven't really gotten a chance to talk about this franchise on the channel yet, but Mission Impossible is probably one of my favorite action franchises ever. I think a lot of them are really, really great, with the worst one being just fine, I think. It's watchable though, and personally, I think that's the second one. But ever since Ghost Protocol, which came out 12 years ago, they keep upping the ante for nearly every one of these movies, and I keep thinking going into it, are they gonna be able to top this? And in the past, the answer's been yes. I think Rogue Nation is better than Ghost Protocol, and Fallout is better than Rogue Nation, which I think Fallout is one of my favorite action movies ever. In my opinion, I feel like this is the epitome of the classic spy thriller. Well, not spy thriller, I'll get to that point later, but spy movie in the case of there's a nuclear warhead, we gotta get it off. I think Fallout is the epitome of that. So that being said, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is one of my most anticipated movies ever. I can say that right now. I was insanely excited for this, and mainly just they didn't really play this up in the trailers, but this, at least when it comes to the overall plot and story for Dead Reckoning Part 1, this is something very new for Mission Impossible that I really enjoyed. The overall gist of this is that there is this thing, or entity as they call it in the movie, that is starting to take over the planet. And it is becoming well, actually, I probably said this earlier, it is a rogue AI that went sentient. And I did not think Mission Impossible was going to be able to go in that direction as well as pull it off really well. So, not sanctioned by the IMF, Ethan Hunt and his merry crew have to go kill this thing. That's the gist of this. And it is pretty insane. The big thing that I felt with this that I didn't really feel in a lot of the newer Mission Impossible movies, not even Fallout, was that there is this genuine sense of paranoia in this movie. Kind of similar to the very first movie, where just we have no idea what this thing is. We learn what it is, but now it is just this whole thing of taking this thing down and it knowing everything that Ethan Hunt and everyone can do. And they've said in one Mission Impossible movie, I can't remember off the top of my head, that they talk about Ethan Hunt meeting his match. Forget about that. This is where he's met. And it is genuinely it's heart pumping to see such a daredevil and an insane spy, Ethan Hunt, that we have known for 6 movies before this, and he is genuinely finally meeting his equal in this instance, and it is pretty wild. Back to the technical aspects of this now. I do feel like it's obvious with this, but the action and the set pieces in general are just great. They just are. The train sequence in the third act of this, to use a more recent comparison, it puts the train sequence from the latest Indiana Jones movie to shame. This is probably one of my favorite. The train sequence in Dead Reckoning is probably one of my favorite movie scenes of this year so far. It is insane. There's this massive sequence in Rome as well that also culminates in this alleyway fight, which is just also really well done. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video. A lot of things are just really well done in this, and you can tell that this is like there's a passion here for filmmaking and entertaining, and it's just here. When it comes to the cast, pretty much every main character from the last one is returning in this one, except for Henry Cavill. The trio of Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, and Ving Rhames has been in the past 3 movies, and it's really worked well. You can tell that they just work so well together, and they're also torn apart really well, and just like knowing how scary this thing is. I also really liked Rebecca Ferguson and Vanessa Kirby in this again. They're coming back from the past couple of movies, and I just think they're great characters. Just, I don't know. It's tough to talk about this movie without spoilers, and also that this is just really well done. There's also quite a few new additions here, the biggest one being Hayley Atwell. And I've been waiting for a big franchise, well, outside of Marvel at least, to pick her up and actually, like, do something with her. And this is that movie. She is essentially a lead of the movie with Tom Cruise. And she just knocks it out of the park in everything. Esai Morales plays Gabriel, the quote-unquote villain of the movie. At least putting a face to the AI in this. And he plays Gabriel. And he's really scary in this. There is this cold, calculated sense with him that he knows everything that's going to happen. And he's predicting all these things, and usually he's right. And that's the scariest part, just knowing that he has not been wrong yet. There are other new additions in this as well, with Klementieff playing Paris, Gabriel's right-hand person. And she's also really great in this. I'm like with Hayley Atwell, I'm glad another franchise has picked her up because it's nice to see her in them. Albeit in a smaller role, Henry Czerny comes back from the first movie as Eugene Kittredge, and he and Ethan Hunt's scene, like interrogation scene that kind of mirrors their scene in the first movie, is really a great way to start off the movie since he's really only in 2 scenes. I also want to shout out Cary Elwes. He also doesn't have a big role in this, but I also liked what he did with his time. Again, it's tough to talk about this movie without genuinely getting into spoilers, which I'm not going to do in this video. But I do want to say, by the end of this, I had a question in my mind where, is this better than Fallout? Because as I said earlier, I think Fallout is one of my favorite movies ever. I think it's a really close second. I think Dead Reckoning Part 1 is easily the second best Mission Impossible. The only reason why I don't say it's the best is because I've only seen Dead Reckoning once, and honestly, if I think it holds up in repeat viewings, especially when Part 2 comes out, I think Dead Reckoning as a whole movie, like Part 1 and Part 2 together, could really be better than Fallout. This being a Part 1, I haven't really mentioned yet. Yeah, this is a Part 1, and it is surprisingly satisfying. They don't leave a massive cliffhanger at the end. Like, there's no Infinity War level cliffhanger at the end of this. But it's satisfying enough where it feels like a good endpoint to cap this off. You feel satisfied by the end, although you still want more because it says Part 1 in the title. But it's insanely satisfying for being a Part 1. Overall, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is a new frontier for the franchise. While I do think Fallout is the best contemporary spy movie, stop the nuclear bomb from going off, that kind of movie, this is something brand new for Mission Impossible. And for doing something like this and essentially grabbing AI by the balls, mainly because it's such a hot topic right now, even on top of the fact that this was filmed like 2 years ago, so they were really on top of that. But the fact that it is incredibly timely and also really suspenseful, which I haven't really needed in a Mission Impossible movie recently, but the fact that it just has it on top of everything else that has worked in a Mission Impossible movie before is the icing on the cake. It also doesn't help that, it also helps that if you take away all the other stunts, it's actually really well written. I keep forgetting that the writer and director of this, Christopher McQuarrie, was nominated for an Oscar for writing Top Gun Maverick last year. So I also think that's a good deal. I'm not saying this is going to win any Oscars, but If Top Gun Maverick can get all the love like this, I don't see why Dead Reckoning Part 1 shouldn't either. If I haven't made it clear already, I think Dead Reckoning Part 1 is a 10 out of 10. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite movie of the year now, which, I mean, I kind of expected it to happen, but the fact that I'm saying it is a little wild. But yeah, this is my favorite movie of the year so far. Alright, since it's been out for a couple of days now, what did you think of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1? Do you think this is one of the best in the franchise? If not, what is your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. See ya!